Uh, Microphone, I think. Let's try again. 1 2 1 2. No, it's still not. It is the most peculiar. Ah, now we might have sound, have we? 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 1. Let's 1 2 1 1 2 1 1 2 1 1 1 2. I might have. I got a spare microphone. I'll go for that. 'That's annoying. 1 minute going, oh, everything's fantastic. And then it failed on me. Right. Finding the other mic. Oh, hell. Probably have a holder for it. One, two. Let's see. Camera. Now I've lost everything. You can hear. Right. 1 2. Right. Well, I'm back with camera. I don't seem to be back with audio. Am I? Is anybody hearing me? Anyone hearing me? Right. Hearing with echo. Okay. Is there still echo? Is there? Can you tell me if there's echo, anybody? Is there still echo? If that's, we'll get going again. Sorry about that, everyone. I did a sound test a minute before coming on the air. Everything was so perfect. So I don't know what kicked off, but if you can actually hear, you sound perfect. Okay, let's go ahead with it then. As I say, I better start with you again. I won't do the very beginning, but what we got today, it's part two of our two parts. Sustainable actions. Sorry for holding up Dana and Jane, who's sitting there waiting for me to get into action. So let's line up everything here. And now, the last thing to happen is all my videos and photos that disappear. So it's certainly a session of it. So let's see if I can get that back in action. I've no idea why they've disappeared. The entire show has suddenly disappeared. Damn it. I'm trying to get my photos back. I think we might be getting them back. Yeah, they're coming back now. Oh, there we go. As I say, it just takes me out of it. And that's our picture for today. Part two, Sustainable Action series, Working Examples. Well, certainly this is not a working example, is it? Guest today, we got Kate Cloudsparks and Jane Gilgan, who's a long-time supporter. Picture's gone again. She's a long-time supporter of nature folklore on what we've done before with the Carol Crory Sunday sessions when we all had a picnic around the Labyrinth Gardens, and also before then the Baths in the Woods on the Sundays. And we got a lovely return who's in the background here, Dana O'Driscoll, author of Sacred Actions. Also, you may be well familiar with her from the Druids Garden blog. Absolutely beautiful blog to follow there. And Nature Folklore Sessions and Tree Sanctuary Support, as I say, brought to you by Patreon here. And those who don't like going through the PayPal, we have the Buy Me a Coffee, which is here as well. So let's see who's still with us. And thank you for hanging on whilst we try and get stuff sorted out here. All the messages are working, not working. Fairies from your local fort have moved into your sound system. And I hope it's still, everything's working. It may well be I'm just using the computer microphone. I couldn't put up the alternative microphone because there was a part missing. Of course there was. Never mind, let's get on with the show. Several viewers here to Nature Folklore are already fans of the Irish author, filmmaker, and the amazing magical live entertainer, Monica Magan. Let's give it a picture to remind you. You're probably familiar with him. Anyway, so is this him? There he is. And he's been doing a few shows with us, with a harpist. He's actually been demonstrating his poetry as one of the things he's been doing. And you would have enjoyed his very insightful Cronair and the Trees of Ireland series. And there's a sort of logo from it there that's covered over my Buy Me a Coffee. Let's get rid of that nonsense for now. I think you've got the message there. There you go. No, it's come back again. There we go. There's Morgan there. So, and also, what he's on tour, or he's going on tour again with his amazing Aaron and Im, his bread making and butter making show that also demonstrates how the Irish language origins is used in all things bread making that have meanings that seem to wrap up the entire folklore, mythology, and heritage and culture of Ireland and really beyond in Gaelicdom. And to add to that, Monica's popular recent books, 32 Words of the Field, and the other one is Tree Dogs, Punchy Fingers, and Other Irish Words for nature. So I hope you're still getting the audio of this, everyone. But he's got a new book coming out. It's released, going to be in autumn. Listen to the Land Speak. It's a journey into the wisdom of what lies beneath us. And with this book, Monaghan explores the wisdom and magic that's encoded within the landscape of Ireland, and he attempts to draw out and share insights about our past, current psyche, that's embedded within the folklore and the mythology. And Monaghan also describes how our ancestors developed a very, today, quite uniquely nature-focused society. It was centered, and I often bring this out, centered by esteemed poets, seers, monks, healers, and especially wise women who were deeply connected to the land. Now, these wise people, they use connections to the cycles of the natural world, and they use these as their inspiration and, of course, as spiritual guides for their crafts. And today I feel that we're becoming increasingly disassociated from that, but a lot of people are back to exploring that again, aren't they? Exploring our connection to the cycles of the natural world, and that was the guiding, animating force in our lives, of the ancient lives as well. And of course, I relate to this as this is close to the description of what the guests I invite and I try to accomplish here on Nature Folklore. So that's why I'm excited about this, because Monaghan, he's got his own unique delivery, which is fabulous, and it's very entertaining. Everybody loves it, and his microphone and camera doesn't go out very often. Anyway, through every developing solar cycle of nature folklore, Monaghan presents everything, as I say, in his amazing Monaghan way. But through his Listen to the Land, should have a copy of it. Never mind, I've lost it. But through his Listen to the Land Speak book, Monaghan sets out on a journey. He goes through bogs. There he is. Let's get his pictures of him. He goes through bogs, over mountains, and all this to trace his ancestors' footsteps. I'm not sure if that's one of his ancestors, but that's the best I can do. And he uncovered ancient myths that have shaped Ireland's national identity. Not quite sure where he is there, but that looks exciting. Myths that are embedded in the strata of the land that have been endured through millennia, right through from the ice ages, right through to famines and floods, and all the massive human changes. Now, the intent of his new book is, he says, is to inspire wonder from magical exploration through our crafting of our immerse, as we try and share with our guests through nature folklore. And hopefully this all goes into the life-sustaining wisdom that's all from what lies beneath us. And I find it's amazing. Monaghan even finds the time to create all these wonderful high-quality books, and he's really knocking them out lately, isn't he? Because he does this in between making beautiful films and documentaries with his brother. And, of course, he's going around doing his bread making and butter making tour. He's just back from his US tour. There's a picture of him with the results, one of the results from that. And then on top of that, I couldn't get a copy of it, but he's got these almost daily entertaining and insightful Facebook story videos, very short, fun videos. Now, Monaghan's upcoming book will be talked about on this show, on Nature Folklore for sure. So Listen to the Land Speak book. It's coming out 6th of October. It can be pre-ordered from most Irish bookshops right now. And I find the bookstation.ie has the lowest cost and the free shipping. But surprisingly, Monaghan isn't doing an official book launch with it, as far as I know. He's going to continue performing his magic R&M with his bread making and butter. And he's got quite a lot of dates in October and November. So he's going to do a lot of book signings and answer questions after the shows. And but around the book launch, at the time of R&M, his bread making and butter show is being performed 7th of October, Town Hall Theatre Cavern, and I hope to get to that one myself. 8th of October in the Ursa Minor Bakehouse, Ballycastle, County Antrim. 13th of October in the Ballinar Arts Centre, beautiful place in County Mayo. and then 14th of October in Arnchan in County Down. And then he's got a few more dates in Northern Ireland to spread him through the rest of October. Now I think he heads to the east coast of Ireland through early November. But I've been meaning, as I say, get to the Town Hall Theatre in Cavan, so I might see one or two of you there. But the tickets are not on sale yet. It might be on sale next week. Also, now this is the best part, Manuk and Magan's also going to be live with us here on Nature Folklore. And I'm going to announce when during September. Anyway, let's go on with the first guest, Kate Cloudsparks. There we go. There's Kate with her goats there. And fascinating small farm farmer. She's living in Iowa. She's a former nurse who's now even wiser woman running a loving and successful farm of mainly goats and hens. There we go. And she used wonderful sustainability and permaculture principles on a farm around her home. Yeah, I'll bring that one back. There we go. Now, lately, Kate seems to, it's coming and going. Lately, Kate seems to have been making a lot of ice cream too, with her very exciting natural flavors from her farm. And so Kate couldn't be in the studio, but she sent me a flash journal video clips of her Iowa farm as it is now. So I'm going to bring it up. I've got Kate, and this is a video. This is the video that she sent. If we don't get any troubles on this, let's see if we go. This is Kate's chickens mainly, and so let's see. Come on, Kate's chickens. It's not coming up. There we go. Kate's chickens, everyone.
I built these perches here
Right.
over 10 years ago when I first was here, and we overwired it to protect the baby chicks, but now there's so much ground growth that the overwiring, I don't do it anyplace yet, but they like to hop up on those perches and nibble at some of those leaves and just hang out in the shade. There was some nettle all full of this little interior space, and then the chickens eat every bit of it. But just outside this little fence, you can see the rest of this clump of the nettle, and most of it I dry it early in the spring for teas and food and things, and then the chickens like to eat it and the goats like to eat it. There's white mulberry tree that's been growing over the one chicken pen, so they get mulberries, white mulberries, and so do I. These young maples are about third season growth, and I've been coppicing them and have a little nice clump of them that I then can harvest from. This is their path out to the gardens. So I have all these young volunteer maples and mulberries and black walnuts, and I've been coppicing them and hanging and drying these leaves for goat food too. So the chickens feed these plants, and then these plants feed the goats, and then the goats feed the ground, and it goes around and around. Young mulberry is at the entrance to my chicken housing areas, and I harvest these branches. I'd cut them back a couple of times a summer and hang them and dry them and use them for feed for the goats in the winter. That's part of what they get to eat. But this is the entry to the chicken forest. Their area is probably 1/8 of an acre, and then they have access to the gardens, which is another 1/4 acre or more. So they free range even though they're not running very far. I don't mow what used to be a lawn. I let things grow here. These giant horseweeds are what the goats like to eat this time of year, and so do the bugs. But instead of a lawn, I just have this area to the fence full of them, and then I cut down a bunch of them and prune them back, and then they regrow throughout the summer, and the goats get to eat them fresh for salad. This magnificent clump of black walnut trees growing just outside my kitchen door and dropping beautiful nuts. It's a huge...
Well, that was Kate Cloud Sparks, and as I say, I do some adjustments here because we got wonderful guest Jane Gilgan here, managed to squeeze in. Yeah, I'm using a smaller. I suppose, yeah. That's as long as you got can present and change the furniture around here a bit. It shows how we're cheating. That's interesting. How am I doing that? Yeah, another bit of tech stuff as well. But it's a huge pleasure to share the studio today with Jane, and let's see how it comments. And there's most of your comments have been, "Can I see you? Can I hear you?" All that good stuff, and working now. So that's fantastic. But I hope you enjoyed the Kate bit. Oh, we got Alan, the balloon Alan. He's arrived. Wonderful. Very good. Well done. Hi, Alan. I'm glad you got done. Gary's here. Terry Slack Hardwick's here. Cliff Carr. Thank you for your feedback on the sound that you've done. As I say, huge pleasure to share the studio today with Jane, and I hope she's not too disappeared out of it. A remarkable sponsor of what Claire Roach and I do through Bars in the Woods, as I say, Carracroy Cottage and Labyrinth Gardens. I also have been recently staying at Claire's B&B in Dublin, and now being a supporter of Nature Folklore Broadcast right from the start when I started doing this through the COVID. And Jane's retired from research in family and social sciences at the universities of Syracuse and Minnesota Twin Cities. I don't have a website for Jane. I don't know if you have one, but if you go onto Amazon and look for Jane Gilgan, it's almost it's pages and pages. You know, prolific writer on all kinds of subjects, not just family and research science, but there's poetry books there, wonderful stories. And recently, Jane's taken up residence in Jamestown, Rhode Island. She's far from being retired. She's more creative than ever, from what I see. But living in Rhode Island, I know a big passion of Jane is her horses, the beautiful horses, Ellie and Finn. But Jane's saying they stay with someone else. She hasn't got the land. Is that right? Is that Ellie and Finn?
That's not Ellie and Finn.
No, that's not Ellie and Finn. All right, who we got here?
Beautiful. I don't know who that is.
Which one is that one?
I don't know.
Oh, these. I stole these from your Facebook page, and I haven't. So I just guessed they were the horses because.
No, Ellie's a beautiful Arab mare.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is this one of them?
No.
Oh, okay. It was just your.
No, and Finn is a great big chestnut, which is a redhead. His full name is Finn McCool. He is named after Finn McCool, you know, the man who created the Giant's Causeway.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and saved Ireland from all kinds of invaders.
Well,
he was a great lover, too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Jane, as you see from the stories coming up, Jane's constantly journaling as a writer, photographer, and video. Even sitting in the studio waiting for me to put things together, there she was, just. And I noticed that everywhere, there's always something to write, always something to photograph, always something to video. And you love the sea. I saw that, yeah, great passion. And almost every summer, Jane gets to stay a month or two in Ireland in County Leitrim. And that's why Jane's able to share the studio with me this afternoon, which is here in County Leitrim too. But Jane has told me, you've told me that you'd like to share some ideas that you've been working on recently, inspired by reflections based on Indigenous people of the USA and the teachings of John Philip Newell, there he is there, who during recent years has related Celtic spirituality to the sacredness of the earth. And I actually met John Newell in our younger years. It was about 45 years ago. And by the looks of that, there's him coming up from Columbus Bay in the south end of Iona. But that's him and me on Iona. I'll talk about that some other time, because a few years after that, he actually became a warden of Iona Abbey from 1988. I'd actually finished my contracts by then. I'm glad he took over as warden, say no more. But there we go. That's one of his books. Anyway, right now I'm going to indulge in the precious and wonderful welcome of our endless supporter and friend and a well-grounded wise woman, Jane Gilgan. So
Thank you.
after all that's going, good afternoon, and
Thank you,
lovely
John.
to see you
Lovely to
actually
see you.
in the studio.
Yeah.
And thanks for putting up with a long introduction as well as putting out. So,
Well, you said so many things about me. It's hard to pick on
right, you
one thing to elaborate on. But I was actually, while I was waiting for John, I was actually editing a book I'm writing, and the book has a working title of "All About Me and Love," and it's writing a woman's life. So stay tuned. I've got 100 pages done. I started writing it the day after I arrived in Ireland, which was the 22nd of June. So I'm having a wonderful time, and I am using the ideas of John Philip Newell and other writers of spirituality. It's really, I've concluded that spirituality really is the ground of everything. And so you'll have to read my book to see how I explain it, but I bring it really down to earth, which I think is important. We talk so generally and so abstractly about some of these really important things, and in my book, it's not abstract. It's pretty graphic. So this is what I thought I would do today. I am a professor, and I am actually still doing research. And as a professor, I've always been interested in kind of the foundational thinking of things. So what I want to do is I do want to share some foundational thoughts about sustainability, but I also want to provide some images and some concrete actions and some just lovely thoughts about, why do we even care about sustainability? So I want to begin with a poem by Mary Oliver, and it's called Mysteries, Yes. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of the lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch, and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. And it's the bowing of their heads that jumps out at me, because what they're doing, or what that poem signifies, is the bowing of our heads to the sacredness of creation. And this leads me to my sense that there are two broad reasons for sustainability. One is we revere the earth for its own sake and for our sake. And the second is there are practical reasons to revere the earth. So I'll start with their own sake. Creation is sacred, and that's the reason we revere the earth. We don't have to be taught to revere the earth and all of creation. We have to be taught not to. I think our natural state is reverence. Each of us and all of creation are sacred. The sacred is within us, around us, beneath us, and above us. We revere all of creation because we are creation. Sacredness is an endowment of the spirit of love and goodness. The sacred in us loves the sacred in other beings, and the sacred in other beings loves us back. So there's an incredible reciprocity, an never-ending swirl, spiral interaction. And love, which is a word I just used, love is love, and the sacred in us loves the sacred in others. So love is the active promotion of the well-being of others and of the self. And that's from Eric Fromm. And I've read a lot about love in the last year or two, and everybody seems to come back to that definition. Some people talk about romantic love, erotic love, friendship love, universal love. There are all kinds of love. But underneath all of these kinds of types of love
Sorry.
is the idea
I'm trying to get Jay more into
of the active promotion of the well-being of others. And we really can't know how to promote the well-being of others, including Earth, if we don't somehow, in some kind of blind, unseeing way, sometimes love ourselves. So, just to conclude, Earth is sacred, we're sacred, and we revere the Earth. And if we revere the Earth, we're going to promote the Earth's well-being. And whenever we promote anybody's well-being of anything whatsoever, it affects the whole because we're all part of the whole. We're all connected. So there are also practical reasons to revere the Earth. Our very lives depend on Earth's well-being. And we can see it in Southern Europe right now, the temperatures are like 31 degrees Fahrenheit. 600 people have died of the heat. So that's global warming, and that's just one example of how our lives depend on Earth's well-being. So how do we love the Earth? Well, I answered that question by thinking about what's happened in the last couple of days. So I was at an open mic in Manor Hamilton, which is in County Leitrim, and I was there last night. And there was a poet there who very profoundly talked about the malaise that's in our culture, in our land, on our earth right now. And he was young, and I was just thrilled to see that he ended it with saying that the response is to be creative, not to be angry, not to give back, or be angry creatively maybe, not to give back in kind, not to do what the destroyers are doing, but to be creative. And if each of us did it, I just saw a metaphor the other day, which many of you may already know, is like if each of us think of ourselves as a drop of water, and if each of us is creative in our own way to sustain the earth, we're going to create a cascade, we're going to create a flood, we're going to create a major change, and we're one little drop in that marvelous cascade. So that's one example of sustaining the earth. And then another I just saw last night too is this a man named Perry Rosso, who actually is from Rhode Island, and he has a restaurant called the Matunic Oyster Bar, which is now rated to be one of the best restaurants in the world. And what Perry does is he does aquaculture. He has about 50 million oysters growing in Narragansett Bay, which is in Rhode Island. And not only are these oysters absolutely delicious if you like oysters, but they also are cleaning the bay. Now, I was part of Save the Bay 40 years ago, and Narragansett Bay is incredibly clean now, but Perry's oysters are making them more clean. And Perry also supplies all the vegetables to this restaurant because he created an organic farm. So that's an example of sustaining
That's
the
fascinating
earth.
because every
Yes.
time you hear of a fish farm, even a mussel farm, there's always the talk of pollution. But because of the shellfish forever filtering, it's fascinating. Just put more shellfish in the area, you get cleaner water. That's a fantastic.
Well, what
thought.
Perry said, because I saw the video, I watched the video last night. Perry said, "Oh, look, the tide's coming in. Oh, good, it's time for the oysters to eat."
Great.
Because he doesn't feed them.
Yeah.
The oysters feed on the plankton that comes in on the high tides. So, a third thing, just yesterday, there's an organized resistance in County Leitrim, where I'm staying in Ireland, to a proposal for 47 permits to mine for gold and silver in North Leitrim, which is where Manor Hamilton is. And I don't know if you know how seriously damaging gold and silver mining is to the earth, but it is. And what is wonderful is that they not only are organized, but they already have a wonderful track record, because it was this group that successfully lobbied against fracking in North Leitrim. So, of course, there are many other examples that I could pull up, but these are just 3. So imagine if these are each drops of water, how many other drops of water are there? I mean, are we going to come to a tipping point? Now, is the water going to clean away uh, the terrible things that are actually happening to Earth? Now, I personally have been committed to sustainability for a very long time and never really have talked about it. But just some recent examples, I have probably an acre of lawn, and I planted it all in clover. So it never has to be mowed. Oh, I mean, it needs to be mowed once a year, and I have a battery operated lawnmower, and it's great for bees. And the rest of my property is either in trees or wildflowers or meadows. And on July 11th, while I was whiling away my life in County Leitrim, I had heat pumps installed in my house, which is a carbon neutral way of cooling and heating a house. And I also have installed solar power. So, and I mentioned batteries, and batteries are somewhat of a problem because although lithium probably is, which is the basis of most batteries, it probably is recyclable. It's not really being recycled, and there's a tremendous amount of research on other uh, uh, metals to be used in batteries. So stay tuned. Batteries may actually improve and not be so dangerous to Earth and to our lives. So here's a final thought, and this is from Final Thoughts, and this is from Stephen Charlson. He's an American Indian who wrote a book called Ladder to the Light, and it's available on Kindle. He said, this is one of his thoughts. One day, we will go to be with the ancestors. We will become the ancestors. When that day comes, what will those left in this reality say of us? Will they say we set an example for them to follow? Will they say we cherish the highest values of our people? Will they remember us as defenders of Mother Earth? And my question, following up on what Stephen said, will they say we held Earth and all of creation sacred? And this is from John Philip Newell. Empire doesn't want us to experience and help others to remember that creation and Earth are sacred. They themselves have forgotten or lost their way. They seek sacredness, love, and affirmation too, but how they try to get it is harmful. And when they do get what they want, it's tainted because of how they got it. If Earth and all of creation is sacred, we can't exploit. Oh, wait a minute. What did I say? Oh, shoot. I'm going to skip that. Earth, women, men, and all of creation do not exist to be used for the delight of exploiters. We exist to experience goodness and love. So, Earth and all of creation are of the same spiritual substance. So, if they are, whatever little good we do becomes a drop of water that will join the flood.
That's great. It's lovely that you brought up the water thing because I was going to introduce. There's a lovely talk coming up on water in October. I'm going to talk about that next week. But you're saying you love the sea. But there's a question I don't remember asking you. What attracted you to Leitrim? Because you're always basing yourself in Leitrim. How did your heart come to Leitrim?
Well, my grandfather was born in Leitrim, but nobody knew exactly where, at least not 25, 30 years ago. So, and nobody ever went to Leitrim because, for a lot of reasons, but none of my family went back. And so when I had a chance to come to Ireland for free at an academic conference, I decided to stay for 19 days. And I spent a week in North Leitrim and a week in South Leitrim. And nothing really clicked, but it clicked enough so I wanted to come back. So I started coming back every year. And the first 3 or 4 years, I traveled all around. And I thought, gee, everything was really nice. And then and I liked it. But one day I was driving through the Glencar, And those of you who've seen Glencar will know what I'm talking about. But Glencar is one of the most beautiful spots the world has ever created. It's just fantastic, beautiful high road that you drive in. You look down, you see the lake, and you see the mountains on the other side. If you look uh, far enough, you can see the ocean. And I knew I was home. So after that, I didn't travel around Ireland anymore. I came to County Leitrim every single year from anywhere from 3 weeks to 7 weeks. And let's see. And I've learned a lot about my family, as much as there is to know. And we definitely have deep roots in North Leitrim.
Ah, fantastic. Sherry, luckily, Sherry, you missed all of the 20 minutes or so trying to get on the air in the first place. One very important thing we can do is help our environment. Stop buying clothing, fabrics that are not natural. Microplastics account for a huge portion of the ocean pollution. Indeed, I think most people, fortunately, that watch the show, that's one of the sustainability things I think they've overcome, which is fantastic. As I was saying, you only got a little taste of Jane. Absolutely delightful to have her in the studio. And as everyone we have live, I want them to be on forever. But as I say, Jane's got a whole listing on Amazon. But of course, with Amazon, support your local bookshop. You can get the title off of Amazon, then go to your local bookshop and say, I want this book.
Right.
And that's definitely, as I say, that's one thing with Monaghan's book. Go to the local bookshop. I'm not sure. I suppose he's on Amazon, but I don't even think about that now. So, but you can check up for the titles there. That's where you get to know about them, read the synopsis. So, thanks very much for Jane. Sorry that was so short, but it was fantastic.
Do I get up and leave, or do I wait until you change the story?
Oh, you can, because we're going to have, at last, we're going to have Dana on in a moment. I was going to include, as I say, we're talking about water. I was going to include background for an upcoming lecture on the sacredness of water. It's by Dr. Celeste Ray. Was going to do it today, but I'm going to leave it to next week. But as I say, wonderful. We've had Jane. We've now got Druid Garden and Sacred Actions author Dana. Let's see if all the technicals are working. Thank you for your patience, Dana. Let's get the headphones on. And she's given a big, nice, big, warming smile there, which is fabulous. That's a great start. Let's get this. And Claire was saying it's fascinating for Jane. Thank you very much. Terry Slack finally getting a massive wild violets and clover taking over the grass. I'm leaving the soft carpet that requires hardly any mowing. And last year, Dana had quite a thing on mowing. I brought that up last week as well when I did the encore. That I was quite shocked she was bringing Lughnasadh when I was thinking. I always think of Lughnasadh harvest, and Dana was bringing up the experience of ripping up the lawn. We got some fantastic history of that. So let's get Dana and see. Make sure we. Oh, look, there we go. She was there a moment. Good morning to you, Dana. How are you? Are we getting you loud and clear?
Good morning. How are you?
Look at that. Well, you got better sound and visuals than I have. Oh, it's lovely to have you at last again. Sorry for holding you up again, because I said we'll probably have you at 2:30, but that's amazing. Sound check. Oh, fantastic. This is brilliant. No, it went. Anyway, I'm actually using the computer sound, so I hope the sound's okay, I assume.
Yeah.
Which is very good. Anyway, let's. I've been nicking a graphic by Dana. Let's bring this up. There we go. That's a beautiful one that I showed off last Sunday. It's a beautiful artistic about connecting the seasons of the land with the Celtic Wheel. And last Sunday, I actually broadcasted an extended introduction to Dana and her wonderful, successful book. In her absence, the book, I better show you a picture of that. Sacred Actions here, living by the wheel of the year through the Earth Center Sustainable Practices. And after the nature folklore, last week I encored the full interview between Dana, there she is, and myself, because you were on about the same time last year, I believe. When you were here, which was fantastic. And again, actually, the encore gained a lot of fantastic views because I was so embarrassed because last year I don't know if we had technical hitches, but it was a kind of a low viewing compared to others. But we've been getting 1,000, 2,000, and more views, and we've been building up. Anyway, that's brilliant. Extremely delighted that you've forgiven me, I hope. I don't know you're back with us today. I served a long introduction last Sunday to say who you are, so I'm not going to do that today. So thank you. Hello, Dana, for returning to Nature Folklore. Now, I suppose my big question is the publishers. Whoops, you're knocking. Let's have the real Dana back, and I'm going to try and get you onto a fuller screen. Be nice. There we go. Let's get her in the full focus. The Sacred Actions book's been so successful. I understand your publishers have got you to do a follow-up.
Yes.
It'll be out later in the year. The Sacred Actions Journal. So
Yes.
up with a wee introduction to that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, this was actually the Sacred Actions book has been very successful, which is awesome. I mean, I'm so excited that people are taking up this idea of everyday sustainability and everyday sort of spiritual practice through small sustainable actions. And so I am starting, or actually the publishers had it, they had it for a while, a Sacred Actions Journal, which is kind of like a workbook, because a lot of people have used Sacred Actions as a workbook. You kind of work your way around the Wheel of the Year, and at each of the different parts of the Wheel of the Year, there are different sacred activities that you can do and different sustainable activities that you can do. And the book is like just full of those, along with rituals and other things. And so the idea is that the workbook is going to serve as sort of a complement to Sacred Actions. There's going to be places for you to journal, a lot of pages for you to journal. There's going to be additional prompts, additional activities, just sort of to continue to supplement that practice. I also did a number of full color or black and white illustrations for the book, which, I think will just add to, some of the joy of the book. So that's going to be coming out by the end of this year in 2022. And I actually do have a follow-up book coming out in 2023, which I can also talk about, which is a land healing book.
Oh, goodness me. They're coming out in a wonderful succession. Now, one of the things I'm just realized just now that the three guests, three women, three animal lovers. There was Kate with the chickens and goats. We had Jane with the horses. And there we have you with the geese.
Yes.
So how are the geese?
The geese are doing very well. I spent about an hour with them this morning before I came on the broadcast. Yeah, they're my pets, but they're also very good guards for the rest of our flocks. And, of all of the animals on our, we have a 5-acre homestead, all of the animals on our 5-acre homestead are helping us live sustainably and producing. The geese are actually responsible for producing a lot of compost for us. They keep our, we do have places in our yard where we still have like lawn space, which is mostly grazing area. We rotationally graze them through about 4 different areas, so that we don't have to mow, and then they're just generating eggs and feathers and other things. And then they're also helping guard the other flocks that we have. So all of the animals we have are part of this sort of larger system, really thinking about the relationships between everything and how do we live sustainably. And we use a lot of permaculture and permaculture design and what we're thinking.
And there you are with your partner. Sorry, I forget his name.
His name's Rob.
Rob, yeah, very good. Excellent. And I haven't got the picture up this time. Of course, amongst it all, the chickens and the... Do you have goats?
No, we don't.
You don't have the goats.
We were able to get goats, but the land that we have, a lot of the life on the land, like we have black cherry trees and bracken fern and poke, they're all toxic to goats, and so we decided to go the bird route because those plants are not toxic to birds.
Brilliant. And of course the big tortoise as well, haven't you got?
Yeah.
I haven't got the picture of the tortoise this time. That was in last week. Now, of course, the other things you do, there is the art, the tarot of the trees. That is out, isn't it? I forget. There's one you've got coming out. Which is the one you're building at the moment?
See if I have, where do I have one? Here, give me 1 second. The Tarot of Trees has been out since 2009. The one that I have that's coming out, we're actually shipping it. We're shipping it like tomorrow. Actually, I'm going.
Brilliant.
To your house. This is the Magical Compendium of Eastern North American Trees.
Oh, brilliant! Yes.
The Tree Lore Oracle, which is the Oracle deck, and it's eco-printed. And this is extensive research. My 12 years of research on different trees in North America and their magical properties and their ecology and human uses and herbalism and all of that. So yeah, that's the new project.
Yeah, that's it's wonderful, because when we're talking about the Orm and we're trying to have a cycle with the trees within ours, it must be pretty awkward in other countries. I always think the poor Australians have a hard time when they want to apply something with the Orm. So well done for throwing that together to actually bringing the prompts of the trees you got in. Because I always regard the Orm as being prompts.
Yeah.
Certainly with recent research on that, it does seem to be that way, because we're so used to our linear language that we forget, like with the cave paintings, to me, they're always prompts. It's not necessarily, oh, look, I caught a deer today, I think I'll draw it. But to me, I always think that when you get prompts, and I think that's lovely when you've got a language of prompts, because that drives your imagination and inspiration. And that really kind of validates even the ancient Gaelic, that it's more about conditions and images rather than our language, which is about things. So wonderful. Congratulations bringing out the tree book there. You do have the tree lore oracle. That's one. It's just your incredible art with that. That's the one thing with yourself, and as I've been prompting up the banners here, which is where you'll see a lot of this stuff. But if people go to druidgarden.com, they'll get links to that. But anyway, you can go straight to that. What other art are you working on at present?
I was sitting in the studio, I was actually working on a graphic for my blog.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I've been reframing the Wheel of the Year in terms of 21st century skills for sustainable living, regenerative living, and I'm actually finishing the last post, so I wanted to have I'm not done with it, but wanted to have so that was literally what I was working on while the beginning of the show was going on. I am actually starting to work on a new tarot deck, but don't get excited because they take me 4 to 5 years.
I'd say with all the fascinating, there's certainly not quick
No.
graphic artist illustrations. And in each card, that's what's so lovely on yours. In each card, it's not just shuffling the cards. I would think a lot of people, as they're shuffling, they're just wanting to see all the pictures, which is quite remarkable. And just by looking at the pictures, it's like as if your tarot cards are almost like an art exhibition, a personal art exhibition, which is so beautiful. It's almost, you can tell your own tarot by the readings and the guidances you get just by looking at your painting. So I think that's really unique, because not a lot of people do that in their card sets as such, which is right. Everybody that's out there, do ask Dana. You're probably familiar with Sacred Actions. I've talked about it. I refer to it a lot through the year. And so any questions you've got about her art, about the Sacred Actions, the Celtic Year, geese, tortoises, chickens, permaculture, and of course, hugel culture. The hugel culture, how's that going for you?
That's going really well. Yeah. We've been putting, hugel culture, so I'll just describe what it is. Hugel culture is a technique where you basically bury larger logs in the soil, or you can start them on the surface and you create a mound. And from there, then you add smaller sticks and other debris, woody debris. And then you add a layer of compost, and then you can layer and layer. But basically the idea is that you're creating a really moisture wicking process. So you can hold a lot more moisture, which really matters because everywhere is experiencing so many more droughts. So if we're thinking about a traditional raised garden bed, drains really well and doesn't hold a lot of moisture. If you add a hugel to it, so you start adding all those logs, then in a couple of years, those logs are going to start becoming like these sponges that essentially suck the water in and hold it there. So you can get away with watering a third or maybe even 10% as much as you would with a traditional garden bed. And you can still raise them up in various ways. So we've been practicing that a lot. The land that we live on prior to us purchasing it was logged. And so we just have all of this half rotting wood everywhere. And some of it's up in the air. So as we as we're starting to like help regenerate the forest, replant, and those sorts of things, we're, some of it we can use for firewood, but a lot of it we've been using in hugelkultur. And so we've got some that are in our main garden, which are herbal, primarily they're perennial herbs, and some vegetables. And then we also have a whole bunch that are like edging our forest areas. And those are berry production. So we're doing a lot of perennial fruit crops like gooseberries and raspberries and so on. And then the backs of those we're planting woodland medicinal species. And so the way to think about hugelkultur is that it's like using the resources that we already have access to. We don't have to input anything to do it, but also it's a way of mimicking nature. So a lot of permaculture practices all about mimicking nature and thinking about how nature is really, like we say, nature's the best teacher. But when it comes to sustainable living, like nature gives us the tools. So am I going to till up every year? Well, no, because like that's not the way you want to run a little garden, right? Tilling your garden depletes the soil, and that's why we have so much soil loss, and that's why we have vegetables that are grown conventionally that have much less nutrition, because they've essentially eroded the soil base. So doing techniques like what would happen in a forest. So in a forest, tree falls down, leaves start covering it, eventually things come up, and there's a really rich matter and nothing is lost. That's hugelkultur. It's just mimicking the forest and building soil and retaining the nutrients in the soil. And really, to me, as somebody who's really thinking a lot about like forest regeneration, land healing, but also like growing my own food, the more soil nutrients that I can retain and the more that I can build a healthy soil web, the better. So, for people that are into that, like hugelkultur is a really great technique. And
Fantastic. And the other thing that's major with it is bigger, an expanded bug hotel. Yeah, it's a fantastic residence for the bugs, somewhere for them to live, the wood lice, etc., which is all the things we want to break down. And of course, with that, it brings the birds, it brings all the other wildlife. And as you say, just the insects themselves is like the foundation of that whole permaculture process. So I love that. And in summer, people they still do clipping. You've got all those clippings that can be put down. So it's a wonderful, it's almost like the compost heap you can put to use straight away. And I love your description is that you're applying the principles of woodland, and you're growing your plants amongst the biodiversity of a woodland rather than a blank canvas of straight rows, which, if you're funny enough, you get a wood pigeon along and you're got a row of cabbages. What does the wood pigeon do? Wood pigeons like to run in straight lines. So boom, 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 all of the straight line of cabbages will be eaten. And I found if you actually scatter your cabbage seeds and the wood pigeon comes along, strangely enough, the wood pigeon gets confused and doesn't eat them all. I always say nothing in nature goes in straight lines, but a wood pigeon does. So that's fantastic. It's lovely to have you again. As I say, sorry to have had kept you in the waiting. And it was so annoying. Sound check. I thought, oh, lovely. We've actually got it right this time. Boom, it went. But it's great to have had the sound. Anyone out there? Questions for Dana? Relating to your own growing and permaculture in general, and especially the contents of a Sacred Actions book. And I know some of you did watch the encore that I put up of our interview last year, where we went through the book, and even especially coming up for the Lughnasadh, the interesting thing of converting your lawn. I think the history of the lawns in USA, as I went over it, is the fact that we've got 40-hour week purely to allow people to have time to do their lawns. That was, and I suppose 19th century it was women that mowed the lawns, and I just love that. And it's in the encore as well, making push mowers for women, but as soon as the men had mowers, they had to have the sit-on ones. So but that's fascinating. But say, people, go back to that encore. Lovely again. I hope we can bring you back when you've got the journal book out, or we can bring you on with that. That'd be fabulous. That'd be so one time. When do you expect the release time?
I think sometime in December of this year. I should hear more pretty soon when the publisher has the layout done. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So fabulous. Thank you so much for bringing out Sacred Actions, and congratulations on the success the book has done. And I think, although we didn't seem to have many viewers last year, I know several of them went off and bought the book. So it did do some good. Look for it. It's definitely in your bookshops, everyone. It's worthy to have, to get the Celtic year. And I repeat that again, Dana's Celtic year. I just love this art. Yeah, bit on the outside there you got is the growing year, and then you come in to the 8 celebrations, the 8 references. So there's the book there, everyone's Sacred Actions. Lovely cover, great content. Haven't got much content of it today, but there is one. I love the principles that you've got there, the principles there, drawing together wisdom from the heart and soul, walking in harmony with care with the land, transforming our lives, landscape, and communities. And I know Claire Roach, she said, oh, she was quite inspired by that last week when I printed that on. So thank you for being with us, Dana. Sorry it was so short again.
Hey,
And thank you for waiting. But it's such a joy having you on board Nature Folklore. Looking forward to when we can have you again.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much. Have a wonderful day there and a weekend. Bye, Dana. Bye. Absolutely fabulous there. For those, there's some people that have just been joining us. Questions didn't come in, but they're probably coming in now. And what a wonderful gift of nature and doing such service. That's it. And Jane has got great thank you to everyone. Whoops, there we go. Everyone for comments. Thrive on knowing how others. How are you doing with your gardens and enjoying nature? Definitely get your words in with that. Would love to hear on that, whether you're watching now, watching later. Do answer that one, please. And because this is the second part, the last part of this particular series, what are you doing with your gardens, enjoying nature? Nature sustained me through the COVID. That's true. The COVID in isolation, that came up such a lot when we were starting these broadcasts through the COVID period. And I'm finding I'm still dazzled when I get feedback on what nature means to others. And that's a lot of the purpose of this show. We want to know what nature means to you. And we get that through the guests as well. And we got Breezy Kelly, who joined in, talking of Mannequin and his baking. There's Breezy. She's been, it's almost like hundreds of years she's been on the Baking for Peace. That's not being rude, Breezy, but thank you for being on board. And better late than never. You missed all the technical turmoil, Breezy. We didn't have any sound, or everything broke down for about the first 20 minutes. So you're getting the best of it. But do get back to the beginning. I think you'll like the Kate video for one, which is brilliant. And of course, Jane as well. We had later to catch what she had to say, which was very, very inspiring, very thoughtful. It really kind of drives the inspiration. It really is a contemplation to go over. It was wonderful. Thanks very much. Again, thank you for your continued support with the Nature Folklore Show, because without it, I couldn't fund sharing this with you today and every Sunday. To help cover the weekly and annual costs, which I'm still trying to achieve, if you become a subscriber here, that's the main link there. Dollar, pound, or euro a month goes a long way. He helps keep the show going. And as I say, if you don't like the PayPal, which is what Patreon use, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee, which is actually more popular these days for help. Thank you very much for that. There you go. Buy Me a Coffee, Nature Folklore. Thank you very much for that. So we got some great stuff coming up on Nature Folklore, because we're now really entering into the folklore season, and right through from now on past Imbolc, right into the tree season of March next year. So on the 24th of July, we're going to start the new 4-part Lughnasadh series, and that kicks off with a delightful Bilberry Sunday and Garland Sunday. That's next, that isn't actually next week, but it's on the 24th of July. I'm going to be presenting that because the Bilberry and the Garland Sunday is actually on the 31st, but we're broadcasting something else then. Not much point telling you on the actual day. But there's actually that goes way back to a childhood memory because I was really out on the bilberry Sunday out on the moors doing the bilberries myself. I could actually get pocket money selling the bilberries to a local jam factory that was exclusively selling jam just for the RAF pilots because this was in the 50s because it helped the pilots with night vision. Anyway, so it's a four-part start. That with the delightful Bilberry Sunday garden tradition. 31st of July, when everybody's out bilberry picking, we go through the first harvest. And we'll be covering first harvest of Lughnasadh, again doing it, presenting it a week before the tradition really happens for a lot of people, though they've converted to the Gregorian calendar, so the 31st will be first harvest for them. Gets confusing, doesn't it? But the point of Lughnasadh here in Ireland is actually 1:36 p.m. on the 7th of August, the following Sunday. So between the 31st of July and 7th of August, there can be all kinds of gatherings around Ireland. The most local, perhaps, is the O'Carolan Harp and Traditional Music Festival. That's in Key Jude, County Roscommon, almost going into Leitrim. And that's actually, that festival was a week earlier. It's on the 25th of July to the 1st of August. And that's because the Irish Lughnasadh bank holiday is actually earlier this year. It's on the weekend of the 30th and 31st. And the 1st of August being the Monday. There's the Burr Vintage Week. I don't have any pictures of that, but it's a vintage week with an arts festival. Gorgeous place to go to, lovely festival. That's on from the 29th of July till 6th of August. And then I do have a picture of this, the Tubbercurry Old Fair Festival, one of the most beautiful festivals we have here in Ireland for old traditions. We have a picture. There's Tubbercurry itself. It's become very popular due to the romance series the last year, Normal People, that was set in places there. But the old fair is better than Normal People anyway. Beautiful to go to, great spirit. You get a lot of traditional crafts. It is an old fair festival, as they say. You'll see a lot of horse and traps and smithing and wheel making, that type of stuff. And then there's the Kilkenny Arts Festival that kicks off from the 4th. So there's a lot of Lughnasadh gatherings because people ask me, where are they in Ireland? But unfortunately, several of the regular Lughnasadh time festivals have not got up and running yet since the pandemic. But there's lots of small gatherings. Look out on your Facebook groups, your Twitter groups, Telegram, etc. Find out what the smaller gatherings are. They don't get into the media very much, but they're put together, as I say, through Telegraph and WhatsApp. Catch up with them, and it's wonderful to get out amongst the people again. Now, on the 31st of July, we'll also share a new beautiful poem film from Grace Wells. Grace Wells has made a film on Lughnasadh, and you love the films when we feature them on Nature Folklore. Now, the 7th of August and the 14th of August, 2 weeks, and I really look forward to this one because I love these legends and stories. We got 2 Sundays of Crumcruach and Cromdove. There we go, Crumcruach, that's one impression there, and then the Cromdove, the dark person, right there. Scary images, but absolutely beautiful folklore and mythology. And it's fascinating folklore. It's little known, still little known, the Cromdove and Crumcruach. But it was once the foundation of every harvest folklore story through Europe as well as Ireland. And this includes large gatherings in places like the Green Circles, and there's the Cromdove stone there, the big one there. And right beside that, it's not in the photo, where people make a few offerings. And then there's the region of the Maxlech in Leitrim and Cavan. There's one place you might have been, you might not have thought about if you go up into Fermanagh, Janus figure there, and the 2 faces. And what I've been told that's supposed to be the faces of Cromdove and Crumcruach, because a lot of that tradition is around that lower Lough Erne and also upper Lough Erne, but the lower Lough Erne, there is a lot of that around there in tradition. But the story of Maxlech is the story of Crumcruach and Cromdove. Both of them told Maxlech, there we go, as a man approaching a very important site. It looks like a lovely circle of trees there, doesn't it? But once you're amongst the trees, you got the remains of this cairn, stone circle, and so forth. And there was actually a stone of Cromdog taken from there, and I'll be telling what's about that stone and what happened when we do this. As I say, the dates for that 7th of August, 14th of August. I'll tell you a lot more about that site then. It's fantastic. And B. Smith's going to be back with us then because she's got lots to share with about that and poetry as well around Cromdog. And I imagine Tony Cook's going to be here with a story as well because they're not far from that region too. And then when we follow the 4 Sundays of Lughnasadh with we have the 5 Sundays of harvesting. And then we go into our beautiful marathon, 8 Sundays of Sawan folklore. And that's when Manacle and Margan will be our live guest. I'll tell you in September which week he will turn up. So let's see what you're saying here. Last comments here. Thank you so much. Dana, always great to hear you. Hugs to the geese. Of course, yes, brilliant. And there's Dana. Thank you, everyone. There we go. Thank you for that. The horticulture bed, and she's got the ultimate guide there, telling you all about it. It was fantastic to have that as a reference from that beautiful introduction that Dana gave there. So thank you. It's beautiful those that joined us. Thanks again to our amazing guest today, Kate Cloud Sparks, Jane Gilgan, who's still sitting here writing a book, and and Dana O'Driscoll, beautifully, very short. I always love Dana to be on board with. And if you're watching after the broadcast, do answer the questions that were asked through the broadcast. Would love to hear your response on permaculture, your sustainability, especially on the land, and about your crafts and so forth. That's absolutely wonderful. What have I missed out? I tell you what I have missed out. Oh dear. Excuse me, this is one of the technical hitches that we've got. Sorry, I've got we can't finish the show without a bit of a technical hitch, so I'll just repair my situation before I move on. Oh, darn it. Right, let's see. I think that'll sort it out. That'll keep us on the air for a few more seconds anyway. So please keep the comments coming on, and I will return from time to time to answer comments such as, why is there nothing happening for 20 minutes? Subscribe below, click the bell on the YouTube. It will remind you of the session next Sunday, which hopefully will get off to a lovely start. Because I must admit, we've had a few weeks of minimal tech issues. Fantastic. So enjoy a safe week, full of all that wonder, beautiful weather we got here in Ireland. I hope it's not too hot for you. All of those wonderful inspirations, all those enchantments you'll be experiencing. So until next Sunday, play well. Thank you. It's been a joy being able to eventually share this with you, with our guests, with sacred actions through sustainable living. So thanks you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day and the week. Bye-bye. I think that's all I've got for you. Thank you. Bye.